So to whoever's on, let me know. I'm just in the car driving and I had a few minutes and I wanted to give it to you guys. Any chance I get, I want to try to help as many people as I can. Sorry if it's dark. It's pretty dark out right now, my way. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes and then I'm going to get into the message that I wanted to share. But to whoever's on, hey Cassie, I'm so proud of you. To anybody that's watching, Cassie is something, she applies it, and this is what I want people to start doing. See, a lot of people don't realize exactly what accountability means, but like for instance, like if you decide to do coaching, that's you being held accountable. Okay, everybody knows like accountability is definitely biblical, so my coach holds me accountable. But this being said, she actually applies the wisdom, and we do, like, I give her the practical steps, she applies them, and she's getting the results. So I can't wait to talk to her this week because we definitely did a lot, and I can't wait to hear all of it. But she definitely took action, and congratulations, girl. Proud of you. So your name's Ivy. Hello, sweetie. How are you? How is your evening going? Well, anybody that's on, how's everybody's evening going? I hope I don't lose service again. It's so frustrating. Some of the roads, I can't help it. But I think I'm going to get into the message of what I wanted to share tonight in 2 seconds. Okay, so the word tonight is going to be about letting our emotions cloud our judgment and take over how we think and then actually acting upon how we feel. So, to anybody that's new here, you know I teach a lot about this, but we really have to be working on regulating our emotions. A lot of people don't realize just how important. You said I just joined. Welcome. Welcome to anybody here. But we have to be able to separate how we feel from the action we are going to apply. So something that I actually just talked to a client about before I got on here was she is having a hard time accepting the counterfeit and meeting the counterfeit. Now, let me just put this out there, guys. To anybody that doesn't know what a counterfeit is somebody that's involved with who your kingdom spouse, God ordained marriage situation, God ordained spouse is supposed to be, that's involved with them at the moment. So there's a lot of people that get scared because they're thinking, oh my gosh, God said that this is my spouse, but this person's getting married. A lot of these things take place. Well, I want to put this out there that just because your kingdom spouse who God has promised you, or your spouse that you're maybe divorced with, or maybe you're going through a divorce and they're with somebody and maybe they're planning on getting married. I don't know the dynamic. If God said somebody is your kingdom spouse, that doesn't matter. And that's the same thing for people that, like I said, that God has said is somebody's a spouse and they're still single and they're waiting to get married, and that person's tied up in another marriage right now that wasn't their God ordained spouse. This is what a God ordained spouse journey looks like. It's a faith walk. Okay, so I was talking to a client today, and her husband, they're divorced, is getting remarried to another woman, which is, we refer to this as the counterfeit, meaning it's not the God ordained spouse. Well, she basically is having a very hard time being able to meet this woman. So that's all emotional based decision making. Now, no one's saying we have to like it. No one's saying we have to want to do this. But that is coming from your emotions. So we have to be able to make decisions that are not clouded, which is what the devil does, to our judgment. And we have to be able to make the decision to do something that doesn't involve our emotions, okay? Using wisdom. So for instance, I've had dinner with counterfeits. I I did it all, especially when you are like, I know what goes on and stuff. Like I said, guys, I know too much. But what you have to understand is they're just a victim. They're a victim to all of this. Okay? Again, most of the time the spouse told them things about you that wasn't true. A lot of this, and it doesn't mean they're innocent, of course, but this is coming from unhealed people. This is coming from unhealed people, so what do you expect? So what I want to touch on is when we're making decisions, we have to make decisions that don't involve our emotions. This is the same thing as a diet. Okay. Well, to get back to the meeting of the counterfeit, I want to add, someone's really in a hurry. I want to add that when we're making the decision to meet the counterfeit and separating it from our emotions, you're doing God's work. Okay, not only are you creating more attraction with your spouse, because the fact that your spouse is seeing that you're moving forward and you're not all hung up on them crying and pining after them is naturally going to create desire. I'm just telling you right now. Okay. And then two, you're showing the counterfeit that they can trust you and that you're not trying to fight them. Because here's the thing, if you got kids and stuff involved, guys, do you want your children around somebody where there's strife? I know I wouldn't. So we have to use that too as, as understanding. We want to make sure our children are safe. We're praying for a hedge of protection, of course, but we want to make sure that we're on good terms so we at least can have some insight on what's going on with our children. Okay, so I hope that this makes sense. If anybody that's on here, if you could like the live so it gets out to more people, that would be really appreciative. Okay, so now what I want to touch on is like even a diet. This is definitely emotional based decision making as well, because when you're on a diet, naturally it's going to be harder to make the decision to restrict than it is to, when I say restrict, I don't mean it in a healthy way, because this is somebody that used to have an eating disorder who's now recovered in Jesus' name. But you have to be able to make the decision that it doesn't involve emotion. So like when you're hungry and you're like weak and stuff, that's all emotions. Like wanting to eat is an emotion. When you're truly like, you could want to eat just because you could want to eat because you're happy. Like those are emotions. Now, when you're truly hungry, you'll know. That's not emotions. Okay, so that's where we have to use wisdom. So I'm going to be losing service again. It's getting foggy here, guys. I wanted to touch on that. If you were blessed by this, please like the live. I would really appreciate it. And then like of their lives, creating better dynamics, empires, healing inner childs, attachment styles, personality types, all the things. God's brought me through a lot. He's restored everything full circle. If you would like to work with me, reach out through email, redeemingthebroken@gmail.com. I repeat, redeemingthebroken@gmail.com. All right, guys, I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.